Good morning, students. Today we are starting with our new topic, that is circulatory system. Circulatory system is basically of two types. One is open circulatory system. In some of the organisms, open circulatory system is present, and in most of the organisms, closed circulatory system is present. Open circulatory system means here blood is flowing from large vessels into the body cavity. The large vessels are going to drain the blood into body cavity, or you can say body spaces, and these are known as sinuses. So the blood is going to flow openly in the blood cavities. This is basically seen in some arthropods, mollusks. They are showing open circulatory system, while most of the organisms are having closed blood vessels, and through these closed blood vessels blood is going to flow from there into their body, and this is the most efficient way of circulatory system. Organisms like we can take example of annelids. They are showing closed circulatory system. Chordates, these are having closed circulatory system. So these are the two type of circulatory system. When we talk about the organ of circulatory system, the organ of circulatory system is heart, which is a muscular organ. We can see difference in heart in various organisms. Means in some of the organisms the heart is complete, while in some of the organisms the heart is incomplete, and because of this incomplete and complete heart there is difference in the functioning. How? We can take some of the examples, like if we talk about fishes. Fishes are having two-chambered heart. In fishes, two-chambered heart is present. Two-chambered simply means one atria is there and one ventricle is there. These are the two chambers of the heart of fish. Now what happens in fish? The heart, auricle, this is a auricle and this is a ventricle. One chamber and second chamber. So the ventricle, mixing of blood is taking place, oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. The heart is going to pump deoxygenated blood, and this deoxygenated blood goes to gills, and gills are going to convert this blood into oxygenated blood. From the gills the carbon dioxide will be separated out and oxygen will be mixed up with the blood. So the heart is going to, you can say, remove only one single type of blood, and that will be deoxygenated blood. So fishes are only showing single circulation. Only single circulation of blood is taking place because of incomplete heart. If we see other animals like amphibians, reptiles also, they are having three-chambered heart, except reptile crocodile, that is having four-chambered heart. So in amphibians, clear-cut three-chambered heart is present, means two auricles are there. They are having two auricles, but they are having one single ventricle. And in reptiles, we will see there is partial division of ventricle. The ventricles are not completely divided. So again, in both these organisms, mixing of blood is going to take place. The auricles and the two auricles are going to receive different type of blood. The left side is going to receive deoxygenated and the right side is going to receive deoxygenated. But later on, when this blood is coming in the ventricle, because there one single ventricle is present, so mixing of blood takes place, and heart is going to pump out this mixed blood. So there is incomplete double circulation. Initially the circulation was different, but then it comes in a single point. So these organisms are showing incomplete double circulation. The chambers are receiving, upper chambers are receiving different type of bloods, but in lower chamber all the two type of blood are going to mix up. Now another organisms like mammals are there, reptile like crocodiles, birds, they are having complete heart. Birds, crocodile, mammals, they are showing complete heart. Complete heart simply means four-chambered heart. Heart is divided into four chambers and each of the four chambers are completely separated from each other. We will discuss about human heart in detail, then you will come to know how four-chambered heart is present. That simply means two atria are there and two ventricles are there, which are completely separating from each other, and mixing of blood is not going to take place because of the presence of complete heart. This is how it is present, and there is a line, there is a septa that is going to divide these into different chambers. Now this is the left side of the heart, that is going to, the atria are going to receive oxygenated blood, and the right side is going to receive deoxygenated blood. The oxygenated blood is going to enter into left ventricle and the deoxygenated blood is going to enter into right ventricle. No mixing is taking place. This left ventricle is going to pump the blood into aorta separately, and this is going to pump the blood into artery, pulmonary artery separately. So two times the blood is entering and exiting out of the heart, and no mixing is taking place. That's where we are saying complete double circulation is happening. Later on in this chapter we are going to discuss complete double circulation or double circulation in detail. This double circulation is of two parts. Two parts are there, pulmonary circulation, and one is pulmonary circulation and one is systemic circulation. I am not explaining much over here because later on we are going to discuss both the type of circulation. The main focus for today's topic is human heart. Today we are going to discuss about the structure and function of human circulatory system, or you can say the main organ of human circulatory system, that is heart. आज हम किसकी बात करेंगे? heart की. So location of heart, where heart is located. When I was talking about respiratory system, I told you that heart is present in the center of lungs. Lungs are present sideways and in the center heart is present. So it is present in the center of the thoracic cavity. Thoracic cavity. Now if we see the orientation of this heart is not going to be present straight. It is somewhat, the lower part of the heart is somewhat tilted to the left side. That's why the left lung is having a cardiac notch. This is how the lungs were present, and this lung was having a notch like structure that is going to accommodate the lower part of the heart. Another lung is going to be present over here. So in the center the heart is present and it is tilted to the left side. That's why left lung is having the cardiac notch for its proper fitting. This is how heart is present. If we see the size of the heart, this size of the heart is almost of a clenched fist. And if talk about the weight, the average weight in men is almost 300 grams and in females it is almost 250 grams. It is a muscular organ and cardiac muscles are present in this heart. The outer protective covering of heart is pericardium. This heart is having a protective covering, that is pericardium. Two layers are there. The outer wall is parietal pericardium and the inner one is visceral pericardium. And in between a cavity is formed pericardial cavity, and this pericardial cavity is filled with a fluid called pericardial fluid, and all these structures are preventing any type of mechanical injury or pressure on the heart. These are the protective structures that are present in the heart. Now let's discuss about the external and internal structures of heart. Along with the structure of heart, I am also discussing about the functions of different parts also. So when we see heart externally, we are not able to see the four chambers. We are able to see the grooves. Whenever we are going to see heart from external side, all four chambers are not clearly distinguishable, but some type of grooves are visible. These grooves are responsible for separation of the four chambers of heart. The groove that is going to separate the two atria, left and right atria, is the interatrial groove, or you can say sulcus. So it is responsible for the separation of two atria. Now there is one sulcus that is separating the upper chambers from the lower chambers. Two chambers are present on the upper side and two chambers are present on the lower side. So there is a sulcus that is separating this upper chamber and lower chamber, and that is coronary sulcus. And lastly, we are having two ventricles. So these two ventricles are also separated by a groove, and that is interventricular sulcus. So this is how if we see the chambers of the heart, the upper chambers and the lower chambers. This is the coronary sulcus, or somewhere here the interatrial sulcus will be present, and this is the interventricular sulcus. So these grooves are separating the chambers of the heart. Plus these grooves are having coronary arteries. Through these grooves, various coronary arteries are moving, and these coronary arteries are helping in the blood supply to heart, because heart muscles are continuously functioning. So oxygenated blood is required by these muscles. So the supply of oxygenated blood to the muscles of the heart is done by coronary arteries, which are moving through these sulcus. So this is how the chambers are differentiated by various grooves. Now let's talk about the outer coverings of heart. There are three outer covering, three membranes that are present. Three layers are present. One is known as, the outer one is visceral pericardium. This visceral pericardium, it is present on the external side, and it is a smooth epithelium. The second one is myocardium, and this myocardium is made up of cardiac muscles. These cardiac muscles are responsible for the continuous contraction and relaxation of the heart. So the myocardium is thick and made up of cardiac muscles. And the last, the inner one is endothecum. This endothecum is made up of squamous epithelial cells. So these are the three layers that are present in the heart. Now let's talk about the structures. Internal structure that are present. So we are having two upper chambers, this is how the rough surface is there, and here some of the structures, ridges like structures are present. Some of the ridges are very prominent or big size ridges are there, while some of the ridges are small, and there is some of the ridges are also present here. We are going to discuss about these ridges later on. here, over here also some ridges are present. This is the another chamber. Ridges are present over here. This is how the four chambers of heart are present. If we talk about the appearance, the base of the heart is broad and the apex of the heart is pointed and it is somewhat tilted to the left side. Now, these are the two upper chambers that are auricles and these are the two lower chambers that are ventricles. The upper chambers are having thin walls as compared to the lower chambers which are having thick wall, and we can differentiate between the walls of left ventricle and right ventricle also. This is the left side of the heart, that means this will be the left atrium and this is the left ventricle. This is the right side of the heart, so this will be the right atrium and right ventricle. These are four chambers. Now these four chambers are separated by a central line, or we can say a septa is there. This is the interauricular septa that is going to separate the two auricles, and this is the interventricular septum that is going to separate the two ventricles. Atrial septa or auricular, and this is the interventricular septum. Now this left side of the heart is always going to receive oxygenated blood and this right side is always going to receive the deoxygenated blood. First let's talk about the right atrium only. If we see right atrium, this right atrium is having three blood vessels. Here three blood vessels are coming from the top position. One blood vessel is entering over here. From the bottom also one large size vessel is entering. These two vessels that are entering in these are vein, big size veins, and these are superior vena cava and this one is inferior vena cava. Function of superior vena cava is to collect deoxygenated blood from upper parts of the body and pour it into the right atrium. The function of inferior vena cava is to collect deoxygenated blood from lower parts of our body and pour it into right atrium. Now, along this there is one more sinus, there is one more opening present over here in the right auricle, and this one is coronary sinus. This is coronary sinus. This coronary sinus is a opening for coronary veins. Coronary veins are going to collect deoxygenated blood from the heart walls. Heart walls were continuously getting oxygenated blood with the help of coronary arteries. So coronary veins will collect the deoxygenated blood and they will also pour it into the right atrium. So these are the three openings that are present in the right atrium. These three openings, out of these two, one have valve present over their opening. So the coronary sinus, over the coronary sinus a valve is present, and this valve that is present on the coronary sinus is Thebesian valve. In the same way, a valve is present on the inferior vena cava also, and that is the Eustachian valve. function of valve will always be, they are going to prevent the backflow of blood. So these are preventing the backflow of blood into these veins. This superior vena cava is not supported by any valve. The reason behind this is its orientation. It is coming at a specific angle, entering at a specific angle in the right atrium, and this specific angle is helping this superior vena cava to automatically close when this right atrium is going to contract. Means when there is contraction of the right atrium, because of the contraction, this was automatically going to contract, or you can say going to close, and no backflow of blood will take place over here. Only these two are supported by valves, and whenever contraction of atria is going to take place, these valves are going to close so that blood is not going to enter into these veins again. This is about the right atrium. One more thing over here is this interauricular septa. It is having a depression over here, and this depression is known as fossa ovalis. Why this depression is present over here? During the embryonic stage, when a fetus is present in an embryonic stage, this pathway is generally open. Means some mixing of blood is going to, oxygenated and deoxygenated blood is going to mix up in the embryonic stage. But as soon as in the later development stages, this is going to be closed. And the opening that is present in the fetus over here is known as foramen ovale. So foramen ovale is the opening that is present in the fetus at the embryonic stage, but during the time of complete maturation and birth, it is completely closed, and because of its closing also there is a depression, small depression that is left over here. Now that is known as fossa ovalis. So this is about the right side, and all these structures are going to pour deoxygenated blood in this right atrium. Now let's see what is happening in the left atrium. I am removing these structures to discuss about the left atrium. The left atrium is going to receive pulmonary vein. The pulmonary vein is carrying oxygenated blood from the lungs. So from each lung, two pulmonary veins, 1, 2. Another pair of pulmonary veins will be opening here. We are not going to directly see them, but they are opening here. So these are the pulmonary veins which are going to carry oxygenated blood from lungs, and 4 pulmonary veins are present. 2 are coming from each lung, and oxygenated blood will be poured in the left atrium. These pulmonary veins are also not supported by the valves, because here also the angle is such that when contraction of left atrium is going to take place, these openings are going to close by themselves. This is the left atrium. As compared to the right atria, the left atria are somewhat thicker in walls. Small size is there, but they are thick in their walls. Now let's discuss the next structures. When we move downwards towards the ventricles, we will see some of the flap-like structures that are present over here. These are again valves. This is one valve present between right auricle, right atrium and right ventricle. That's why it is known as auricular ventricle valve. And this is the present one that is present on the right side is tricuspid valve. This is the valve that is present between right atria and right ventricle. That is known as tricuspid valve because this valve is having 3 flaps, and these flaps are known as cusps. So 3 cusps are there. That's why tricuspid valve. Just like that, there is a valve that is present over here also between the left atrium and left ventricle. And this valve that is present over here is known as bicuspid valve. Bicuspid because here only two cusps are present. That's why bicuspid valve. And this bicuspid valve is also known as mitral valve. Again, these two valves are also going to perform the same function. That means they are preventing the backflow of the blood from ventricles to their respective atria. From left ventricle, it is going to prevent the blood to go into the left auricle or atrium, and from right ventricle to right atrium. They are only opening in one single direction downwards, and the backside movement is prevented. How this backside movement of the valves is prevented? I talked about some of the ridges that are present in the ventricles. Let's talk about the ridges. The big size ridges that are present are pulmonary muscles. Papillary muscles. These are papillary muscles. And these papillary muscles are supporting some of the fibers. Some of the fibers are arising from these papillary muscles like this way. These are known as cornae tendineae. This is how cornae tendineae are arising. Function of these fiber-like structures are, they are going to hold the tricuspid. Exactly same way over here also some big size ridges are there, and these fibers are present associated like this way, and they are holding the bicuspid and tricuspid valves from downward, and they are preventing its opening in this opposite direction. So they are supporting the movement over here, but whenever the ventricles are going to contract, they are pulling these two valves downward so that they are not going to open over here, and the ventricles are not going to, you can say, pour the blood in their respective auricles. So this backward flow of blood is prevented by the helping of these cornae tendineae, which are going to capture these over here. These lower ridges, small size ridges, they are known as columnae carneae. Now these structures are also providing some more surface area. These are rough muscular structures that are helping ventricles to increase their surface area. This is how these bicuspid and tricuspid valves are functioning. Now after, when auricles are receiving the blood, this is going to receive deoxygenated blood and this side is going to receive oxygenated blood. This blood is getting poured into their respective ventricles. Oxygenated blood from left auricle is entering into left ventricle, and deoxygenated blood from right auricle is entering into right ventricle by the opening of these two valves, bicuspid valve and tricuspid valve. When blood is present in ventricles, these valves are going to close. Now it's turn for the ventricles to contract. Now ventricles contract, and when ventricles contract, these bicuspid and tricuspid valves are already closed. So the path they are going to follow, they are going to move out, and the blood vessels that are taking the blood from the ventricles are from the right side, right ventricle. A blood vessel is arising. I am erasing all the structures present over here because these are already we discussed. This is going to arise from the right ventricle and it is bifurcating into two. And this is known as pulmonary artery. So this pulmonary artery, when ventricles contract, blood is going to enter into the pulmonary artery from the right ventricle. This pulmonary artery is also supported by a valve. A valve is present here which is preventing the backflow of the blood from artery into the ventricles. And the valve which is present over here is known as semilunar valve. Present in pulmonary artery. So it is pulmonary semilunar valve. If we see the nature of this pulmonary semilunar valve, it is also tricuspid. Means three cusps are there. Three flaps are there which are making three cusps. Now blood is going to enter into this pulmonary artery. This pulmonary artery is going to left lung and right lung. So this is how deoxygenated blood will be transported to the left and right lung with the help of pulmonary artery. If we see the thickness of left and right ventricle, here the right ventricle has to pump the blood to lungs only, and lungs are present near to the heart. So not much pressure is required for the supply of blood to the lungs. So its thickness is very less. While this left atrium, it is almost 3 times thicker. The walls are 3 times thicker than the right ventricle, because this left ventricle is responsible for the supply of blood to the aorta, and aorta is going to carry this blood to all the parts of the body. So let's discuss aorta over here. From this right side, aorta is going to arise and it is moving like this. This aorta is also supported by semilunar valves which are working in the same way. They are preventing the backflow of the blood. Let's discuss in this aorta individually. Heart was there. These are the chambers. From here, aorta is arising from the left ventricle, and this aorta is moving in form of a arc like this way. Here also semilunar valves are present. Now this aorta is divided into 3 parts. This part of the aorta that is moving upward is the ascending aorta. A arc is formed over here of the top, that is arc of aorta. And this part of aorta is moving downward, that is descending aorta. This ascending aorta is giving rise to coronary arteries. Left and right coronary arteries are arising from ascending aorta, and these coronary arteries are providing oxygenated blood to left and right side of the heart. The arc of aorta is bifurcating into three parts. This is the brachiocephalic artery, left common carotid artery, and left subclavian artery. And they will be responsible for providing oxygenated blood to upper parts of our body. This descending aorta is going to move through thorax and abdomen. It will bifurcate and provide oxygenated blood to lower parts of our body. This is how from the left ventricle blood is rising into the aorta. During the rising of the blood, the semilunar walls are going to open, and when blood enters, then semilunar walls are going to close to prevent the backflow of the blood. This is how heart is functioning and the structure of heart is appearing. This can easily be more understood by the cardiac cycle, the process of cardiac cycle. This cardiac cycle is explaining the functioning of the heart. Cardiac cycle simply means one heartbeat. One cardiac cycle means one heartbeat. One heartbeat or one cardiac cycle includes one contraction and one relaxation of heart. So one contraction and one relaxation is going to make one cardiac cycle. The contraction of heart is known as systole. Systole word simply means contraction of the heart, and relaxation means diastole. Diastole means relaxation of the heart. Now let's see what cardiac cycle is and what are the different stages of cardiac cycle. If I want to draw a cardiac cycle as a whole, the cardiac cycle is a cyclic process in working in cycle. It is having three phases, three stages. The combined cardiac cycle is taking 0.8 seconds, and out of this combined cycle, the first process is atrial systole, and this atrial systole is taking 0.1 second. The second one is ventricular systole, and it is taking 0.3 second. And the last third step of cardiac cycle is joint diastole, and this joint diastole is taking 0.4 second. This is how one cardiac cycle is completed. We are going to see all the three stages of cardiac cycle and what type of events are taking place in these three cardiac cycle steps. So let's start with atrial systole. Atrial systole simply means contraction of atria. The right atria is going to receive oxygenated blood, and the left atria is going to receive oxygenated blood, and the right atria is going to receive deoxygenated blood. When both the atria are filled with blood, then they are going to contract. When they are going to contract, the size is going to decrease and pressure is going to increase. And because of this increased pressure, below these atria two valves are present, bicuspid and tricuspid valve. Because of this increased pressure, these valves are going to move downward. They are opening like this way. So what second happening over here is opening of bicuspid and tricuspid valves. The second step that is taking during atrial systole is bicuspid and tricuspid valves are opening. Now the third thing is, because of the opening of bicuspid and tricuspid valve, from right auricle the blood is moving into right ventricle, and from the right auricle it is going into right ventricle, and from left auricle it is entering into left ventricle. So the auricles pour blood into their respective ventricles. This is happening during the atrial systole. These things are taking place during atrial systole. Now, and it is lasting for almost 0.1 second. The second stage of our cardiac cycle is ventricular systole. Ventricular systole means that ventricles are going to contract. Contraction of ventricles take place. When ventricles are going to contract, the pressure is going to increase, and this pressure is helping in the movement of blood. But because of the presence of corny tendinae, the valves, bicuspid and tricuspid valves are going to close. They are going to pull the walls downward, so that because of the high pressure in ventricles, the opening will, this is how they were present, opening will not take place in this direction. That's why they are pulling them from downward side. So another thing is that bicuspid and tricuspid valve will close. And because of the closing of bicuspid and tricuspid valve, a sound is produced, and we call it as the first sound of heart, that is love. That is produced because of the closing of bicuspid and tricuspid valve. Now another thing that is happening during over here is the semilunar valves. One was present in the pulmonary artery and second in the aorta. The semilunar valves are going to close because blood has to move into the pulmonary artery and aorta. So from here both the semilunar valves will open. Blood will rise it to pulmonary artery and aorta. Another thing, when ventricles were contracting, the auricles were relaxed. At that time the auricles are present in relaxed position. So this is happening in the second phase, that is ventricular systole. Now the third phase is joint diastole. What simply joint diastole means? Here auricles were already in relaxed position, and when blood get removed from ventricles into artery and aorta, pulmonary artery and aorta, ventricles are also coming in relaxed position. So because of both the chambers, auricles and ventricles are in relaxed position, that's why we are calling it as joint diastole. All the four chambers of heart are in relaxed position. When now semilunar valves are going to close to prevent the backflow of the blood, and because of the closing of semilunar valves, the second sound is produced, and that is dub. So first sound is produced by the closing of tricuspid and bicuspid valve, and the second sound is produced by the closing of semilunar valves. Now heart is present in relaxed position. Again the auricles are going to receive the blood, and again same cycle is going to happen. So that's all for today. Next we will discuss the difference between love and dub.